If I was a more professional YouTuber, I would have captured gameplay and I would have threw it up here. But I've been making YouTube videos since 2006. I'm too old to change my ways. So just pretend there's somebody playing Elden Ring really badly on your screen as I talk. Now, I'm going to avoid spoilers for as long as I can, and I'll warn you when I get into spoilers. But the point of this video is to tell you that if you have not yet beat Elden Ring, in fact, if you haven't fought a certain boss and gotten to a certain area to fight that boss in, take your time. Explore every zone. Explore every dungeon. Collect every item. Do every quest line that you can, though some quest lines lock you out of other quest lines. Take your time, because once you defeat this certain boss and get into the end game, the game kind of sucks. Now, to be fair to Elden Ring, I think it's true of most open world games that I've played. You have this vast open world that you like to explore. You get to play it the way you want to. You're collecting items, you're collecting gear, you're doing cool stuff, and then eventually you end up in that Hyrule Castle or Final Fantasy hallway in which you're just basically completing the game that you've enjoyed so much up till now in a very linear fashion, fighting the same bosses in a row, collecting the same items in a row, telling the same story in a row, with, in general, sometimes slightly different endings. Elden Ring certainly does that. It puts you in some very linear levels. It has you fight bosses in a very linear path. You collect items that you probably won't use because they're in-the-game items, and unless you're going to use them in New Game Plus or go back and explore the world that you're now vastly overpowered for, they're kind of pointless. You're certainly not going to learn to use a brand new weapon on a final boss, one of the last 3 or 4 that you fight. So it kind of, I don't know, it's very unsatisfying for me. In fact, I did start a New Game Plus to try out all the new weapons and try a new play style and rebirth myself. And this time I even gave myself a new set of rules. Since I used cooperators the first time through, the second time through, I had to solo everything, though I did allow myself to use ashes. And I found it a little more satisfying, a little bit more fun, but at the same time, I already knew how it goes. I already know what happens. I knew which dungeons are worth exploring, which ones were worth ignoring for my build. I knew where the cool items were. I knew the quest line that I wanted to do on the second time through, so I specifically did that one and nothing else. And it just makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, you watched Empire Strikes Back for the first time once, and now you can never go back and experience that again. You can never go back and watch Endgame Infinity War for the first time again. You'll always know the plot twist. You'll always know how it ends. You'll always know how it goes. If you could erase your memory and get that feeling back again, you would, but obviously you never can for those movies, and you never can for Elden Ring. So before I get into spoilers, let me reiterate one last time. If you have not beat Elden Ring yet, if you haven't started playing it yet, take your time. Explore every dungeon, explore every zone, fight every boss, collect every item, try every playstyle until you get to... Spoiler coming, spoilers coming, spoiler coming! Ah! Until you get to the Fire Giant. Because after the Fire Giant, it is a very different game, and it's very linear. It's what I perceived Dark Souls games to be prior to playing this one. Crumbling Azul asshole, I don't know what you call it. It's not fun. It's very different from the game that I've been playing up to that point. And then the Lindell City of Ashes or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah. It's a bit of a letdown. To begin with, they really rely on reusing content. Old bosses are now just regular yard trash, which is fine. I get that that's supposed to show you how powerful you are. But the tree sentinel that you fight before the beast clergyman is like ridiculously powerful. And that's just yard trash, and it does drop good gear, so it's worth it. I ended up using that gear even though I had better gear just because I like the look of it. But could we put less dragons in our game? Could we, honest to God, I got so tired of fighting dragons that by the time I got to this point, I was just running past it. I would hate to be a faith build and decide that I need to kill all of those dragons and need all of those hearts. Because those last dragon fights aren't even fun. Not only have you seen it before, not only have you done it before, but they're larger, they're more annoying, it's hard to see even what's going on. I couldn't hit their head as a melee build. Yeah, not great. And something felt off with these boss fights. I was dying at random times. It felt like I wasn't doing the right thing. I wasn't experiencing the right thing. So I did turn to YouTube and look at other people's reviews. And sure enough, it seems like the last few boss fights are designed very differently. And again, what I perceive Dark Souls games to be, in which you practice, you get good at the game, you gear up, you level up, and then these guys just kill you at random anyway. And man, that's just not fun. And the rest of Elden Ring had not been like that. Some of these last boss fights just seemed cheesy and unfair, and the skill that I had learned was out the window. And I know that my second playthrough, if I do decide to finish that New Game Plus, I'm going to end up doing cooperators because I do not like the way they fight. Which is really frustrating because all of the final bosses are beautiful, well designed, cool looking characters, and wow, they're so visually striking. But then again, that's true of most of the other optional bosses, and no matter which ones I fought, I never felt like those fights were unfair and random. I mean, even the Volcano Manor boss, which is obviously very optional and what I've been told is called a gimmick fight, was still really fun, and it never felt random and BS-y to me. And the Fire Giant itself, I don't know if I was undergeared, I don't know if I was underleveled, but I banged my head against that like a brick wall. And me, she says, and his friend, we all attacked that monster for 2.5 hours until we finally downed it. But at no point did I ever feel like its mechanics were BS. At no point did I ever feel like I should blame it on the game. At no point did it do something entirely unpredictable. If I died during that fight, I knew it was my fault because I was standing in the wrong area, because I wasn't watching out for the fire, because I screwed up. That's why we lost, because one of us screwed up. So I ended up summoning cooperators for every other boss in the game, because when I tried them solo with Ashes, I got my ass handed to me, and not in a way that felt fun, not in a way that felt good, not in a way that felt fair. So eventually, I just summoned in people who had broken mechanics as well, and they just powered down this stuff for gear I've never used to tell a story that I wasn't that invested in. And you know the ending I originally got, because I didn't understand a lot of the quest lines, I got the basic Elden Lord quest lines, so even the ending wasn't even that great. Second playthrough, I'm focusing on Ranni's storyline, because that seems like the most interesting one to me, and I'm doing a caster for this second build, so kind of makes sense, but I don't know if it's worth going through that end game to get it. And to be fair, the end game to this game is better than most open world end games. It really is. I mean, there's just no arguing it. It's well designed. It's got a lot of cool stuff to see. And the visual striking details of these bosses, there's nothing like it. Like the dude with the lion on his shoulder and then he's covered in blood. Oh my God. It's beautiful. Beautiful. It's a bullshit fight, but it's beautiful. And to be fully fair, this does not detract from the rest of the game. It really does not. Even though I was frustrated with the end, and even though I do not want to experience it again, I have to say it probably handled it better than any other open world game ever has. And I think that's the problem. How are we supposed to solve this issue for open world games, right? You have no clue the power level of the characters when they come to it. You have no clue what gear they've collected. You have no clue what their playstyle is or even their skill at your game. So you have to design it in a certain way. Sometimes, like Breath of the Wild, they design it to be way too easy. With Elden Ring, they designed it to be way too random. We just, as gaming designers and gaming players, haven't figured out the solution yet together. And Elden Ring suffers from that problem, I think. Elden Ring is arguably still the best game ever made. It is certainly the best open world game I've ever played, and certainly now in my top 5 favorite games, and will probably always remain there, because I'm an old man. How many more games are going to come out like this before I'm off this mortal coil? And of course, I'm willing to admit that I could be wrong. Let me know. Have you beaten Elden Ring? Have you beaten it multiple times? If you have, let me know in the comments section below. Did I just need to get good? Was I underpowered, undergeared, underleveled? Am I mistaken in this? Is this what Dark Souls games are actually known for and I just need to get good? Tell me if I'm wrong. And if you agree with me, I'd like to know that as well. Drop a like down below. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos about my personal life or video games and things that I have opinions on. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. Now go play Elden Ring and take your time And if you made it all the way to this video and you haven't fought the fire giant yet, wait. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.